Chapter 8 When Life Plays a Trick, March 2023. If you start buying new ingredients that are organic and want to change your entire diet, it's no use having your whole cupboard filled with old items that you no longer want to eat. So we have to clean up the cupboards completely, even if it would cost us getting rid of some things we love or which cost a lot. It is so in life that when we choose ways that our surroundings do not agree with us on, they'll respond. When we make the final push and want to make the final changes and move only on the new way, then the environment will try to stop us in the most inappropriate ways. As in the example here, it'll be the same as when you have completely cleaned up the cupboards and go shopping for new things. When you get home, someone has put some old items back again, something you absolutely don't want anymore. This happened to Rasmus, about 200 kilometers from Santiago, the goal. Then the past began to knock on the door. The descriptions included here from Rasmus are some updates he made online back then. They clearly show that the journey he started 5 years ago on the new ways was nearing its completion, and he was in the process of changing the way 100%. Unfortunately, Rasmus had to choose going back to Denmark before he concluded his Camino, as one of the unhealthy threads inside him pulled him back hard. Rasmus says, "If I knew then what was in store, I would have finished the Camino before I got back to the indescribably painful reality. A reality that I consciously and unconsciously would not relate to, as I wasn't ready to let go. Who will ever be ready to let go of their children voluntarily? I was drawn back to a past tense which was inconclusive and unresolved. One thing was, for example, if your ex chose to get divorced and that you knew she was cheating on you with several different partners. This would be confirmed by her girlfriends later after the divorce and via a forgotten iPad. You subsequently chose not to confront her to avoid bad cooperation around the children and because you were afraid of losing your children. The other thing was that she went after your friends, family, and eventually your children, as she didn't expect that you would find love so quickly and move on. Or her comment about you getting married was, 'Are you sure? Well, then everything is over.' That would presumably worry you. The above is at least a good example of a possible scenario among the many you could imagine in a divorce that goes very wrong. In short, I was not in the past tense which my ex was stuck in and which was pulling at me. A past tense that used my children as tools to prevent me from making the healthy changes I had set myself up for. My independence process, where I could think and feel with a focus on a healthy lifestyle, well-being with less stress, other people's control of me, and a healthy approach to child rearing. Me, present and being there for my children as co-decider and co-educator. An approach where the children could be allowed to be independent and free-thinking children, instead of being in the dynamic I ran away from, where you were not allowed to think and feel, and with too many limiting behavior patterns. A dynamic that met only one of the needs of both of us parents, and which I would never be able to survive unless I had to continue to overrule myself and expose myself to all the taboos which came with that dynamic, which ultimately would teach my children that it's okay to put up with an unhealthy relationship because Dad did it too. I had to acknowledge that there was only one way left for my children to have a normal childhood, and that was to set my children free. It was to let go of them, so that they could live in an everyday life free of wrangling conflicts and confusion. It was and is one of the most painful decisions I've made and experienced, gone through, and now live with. But it set everyone free and peace arrived. I had to let go of the children 100%. I look forward to the day when they are older and can separate for themselves and seek me out for an understanding of what really happened and why. Until then, I shall live with the comfort that they are set free and can be in a place where they are like children, without being tools to preserve new or old conflicts and thus chaos, just to meet a need of the adults. If I withdrew, there would be no one to run a conflict with or against. Since my unfinished Camino, I've come to know the concept of unconditional love and have practiced it. As NATASHA says, there's always an indescribably positive experience in every indescribably negative experience. Like an indescribable pain has an opposite pole, there is indescribable love. It's about perspective and compromise to experience the opposite pole, to heal again in self-love. It has been 1 year and 5 months. Everything is over, and we have come around to the other side of my past tense's distractions in the present, which I should let go. Now I know what true indescribable love is, unconditionally. I finished my Camino in October 2022, when our big boy of 19 walked his Camino. I miss and think about my children every day, but I love them much more than I need to miss them. Signed, Rasmus. NATASHA continues, when we do not pull up the weeds well and thoroughly, they will continue to grow and appear until a day when we actively choose to do what we need to do and find a way to remove the entire root so that it cannot come back. Food for thought. So, if we are to calmly round off the book, do you want to make life more meaningful? To go up against the taboos and the dissatisfaction? To strengthen your abilities and your self-esteem? Do you want to discover new ways to put things into perspective, to find new solutions and experience new opportunities? How do you transform spirituality into universality, into concrete and useful everyday tools? How do you optimize your positive emotional energy and find better well-being and quality of life? Happiness. We can all see and feel clearly if we learn to look through all the filters of life that our families, culture, society, religions, norms, taboos and traditions set up for us in order for us to fit into the collective consciousness that is destined for us, before we ourselves choose our way and the call. What is consciousness? What is a soul? What is healing? Depending on the perspective, this has very different meanings from one person to another. What is the updated and optimized faith without being associated with a religious spirituality? For me, universality. Universality is a form of understanding wholenesses without judgmental beliefs or taboos, and with acceptance of diversities. It's not about a god, a prophet, or a message, but about creating space and room for everything, for a wholeness in balance. Energy that creates curiosity, opportunities, potentials. Energy that creates development, balance, quality, peace, passions, and love is part of a universality. What is healing? Self-regulation and self-optimization. It is when we understand the cause of which thought form is the cause of our challenges, illnesses, which cause stress, anxiety, and physical pain, poor finances, conflicts or relationships, and then change or remove the beliefs and thought forms that create and prevent us from being the free human beings which we are and for which we were originally created. That is healing. It is healing when you can use your inner voice without barriers and self-created challenges. It is healing when we take responsibility for the fact that everything in our lives is our responsibility, although it is indescribably painful to take responsibility for. Healing is when we find the courage to choose off, to set everyone free, to be free humans with flow and freedom to think and act as everyone wishes. Healing is when we set ourselves free of other people's norms and taboos, which we have made our own. Healing is when we can stand strong in ourselves without other people's prejudice, thoughts, and ideas having any significance for us, but still keep our empathy and understanding with respect for other people. Healing is when you are no longer stuck in blaming others and yourself. Guilt and condemnation are discarded instinctively and intuitively. Healing is when we stand independently without anxiety and let go of inappropriate, outdated thought forms or patterns. Healing is when we dare to set boundaries to achieve self-love, no matter what the outside world's reaction is. Many diseases are a placebo effect of something in us, such as conscious or unconscious energy and thus thoughts. Provocative? Yes, but remember that you mustn't judge, because then you judge yourself. Every time we judge others, we also judge ourselves. This isn't about the fact that we are born with a genetic disease or a congenital disability, but about the self-created diseases. Healing is when you no longer have a need to set limits or fight for your rights. Healing is when we can stand in a wholeness within ourselves, despite the differences, without rejection and judgment or taboos. Healing is when all our energies play a melody in harmony together to the beat, and quickly can come back to rhythm when we are not playing to the beat. Self-regulation and self-optimization is healing. To get out of balance is part of the change processes, otherwise we cannot implement a change. But how do we stabilize and how do we self-regulate? That ability is healing. How can we ourselves heal our energy and have other thoughts with a positive placebo effect? How can we heal others? How can we optimize our quality of life? Is humility part of the healing process? We can do this by simplifying and concretizing everything that to us as humans seems unmanageably complex, incomprehensible and fluffy, as it will help us to heal and to get a positive placebo effect, to find the balance between universality, which is also a science of the genetic energetic patterns, and science, which is the genetic physical patterns. I hope that you've enjoyed reading the book and that it has given you food for thought. Now we come to where your and my journey through the book, my world of experiences, thought forms, experiences and theoretical brain training is coming to an end, and I'm about to sum it all up. Summary. Life is beautiful and is constantly changing, which at times comes with some challenges and thus development. We must remember that we are here to be happy, developing people, in step with our nature in development. We must embrace who we are, what we can do, and find the courage to say it out loud, in humility, without all the learned, outdated norms and taboos. Thought forms that prevent us from developing and recognizing our greatness as human beings, such as the hereditary thought patterns like the Yanta law, don't think you're anything, which is against the law of nature. The greatest strength is to accept the uncertainty. Humility. Humility is equality in diversity. It's gratitude. Human is finding the courage to acknowledge one's own inner greatness with gratitude. Humility is when we recognize and respect the intelligence of others, when we encounter greatness in others. Humility is when we recognize and respect ourselves with great self-love. Humility is when we define who we are with pride, without having a negative effect on others. On the contrary, it'll have a positive effect for others in the form of passion and inspiration. Humility is when we do not overrule others so that we can then recognize ourselves. When we do not need to rise above others to feel better ourselves. Humility is when others are allowed to be who they are, with great respect and acceptance, even though we may be more developed than those with some abilities. There can be only one behind the wheel. The IQ of your logical thinking and concrete action is controlled by your EQ, all of your emotions. Life is about how we create experiences from the things we learn on our way, how we handle those experiences. Develop yourself on a higher level where wholeness inside you is created with the balance between your EQ, your emotions, and your IQ, your logical thinking. Have you learned to balance with the two forms of your intelligence? Do you know the condition of your EQ? How can you use your EQ to open and develop your consciousness? Do you know how you can better make use of your emotions and combine them with your IQ so that your emotions don't take over, or how you can use them proactively and develop yourself to new heights and be more inspiring? How can you balance with the emotions where you can set the limits needed for you or others? I can help you make your personal emotional competence signature, an EQ test, which shows you what is hiding in your unconscious, what is your blind spot, and give you tools for a development that can become your quantum leap in life. If you are ready, but are missing a way to find the courage and are willing to walk the way with all of you in balance, we design your very own unique course tailored to you based on your EQ and IQ in an interaction. We are all on a journey through life, alone and together, but only we are the driver and decide and create everything. It's about getting through hard times in the most optimal, good way with healthy conditions and remembering to enjoy the good times, even if we are parents, children, friends, neighbors, or colleagues to each other. It can only be we who must learn to be the leader on the way of our life. Just like when we drive a car, there can only be one behind the wheel. Life is about how we create experiences from the things we learn on the way and how we handle those experiences. That is how our emotions, our EQ, combined with our logical thinking, our IQ, help us balance and experience the world optimally with full capacity. The balance between the two forms of intelligence gives you your independence and the ability to take responsibility for how you drive through the labyrinth of life, how you set limits for yourself or others. If other people's or your own opinions, expectations, demands, reproach feelings, self-righteousness, victim feelings, control feelings, stress and anxiety, condemnation, evaluations, taboos or norms prevent you from driving responsibility, only you will be stopped on the way to what you really want, miss, and dream of. Whether it's a speeding ticket or an accident that comes your way, you are the only one responsible for your reactions. It's not about whether it is someone else driving into you and it's their fault, or whether you are driving into them. If you cannot balance with your emotions in times of pressure, for instance, an accident or in life's great changes, then you cannot think logically and act concretely and sensibly when it really counts, as your emotions will take over your logical thinking and action. Let's stop pointing at each other. We are the person behind the wheel. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be disturbed or disturb others on the way of their life while we drive, because our emotions take over. Life is dynamic and mistakes occur, accidents happen. No matter what and why, we are responsible for the balance within us, with our reactions, which come from the balance between our EQ, the emotions, and our IQ, the concrete thinking brain, our dynamic intuition, and our organic instincts. Being able to navigate and to balance and lead where you have most people is called leadership in all sorts of systems. Whether it is personal or in a company, overview, clear thinking and clear feeling, strategically keeping the balance between our emotional patterns of action and the operational and concrete thinking patterns of action. This is management and personal development on many levels on the way to a higher consciousness. We are like a transformer station. Energy in, energy out. EQ is our input energy to the machine, and IQ is the machine, formatting and transforming the emotional energies and creating output, our action machine. You may have just started a new journey, which is away very far from your old world and your old self. First, learn to stay, fight, and not give up, even if you're tired, or even if it is not what you want. Then you must learn to choose the way based on some good values and what gives you good feelings, where you can develop and teach yourself something new every day. Activate your curiosity and don't make a decision based solely on more money, but on lots of happiness with lots of money. Only then do you start your inner desired journey. A journey that contributes with joy, learning with what you need to open up or to learn. A journey where you evolve to be a whole human being. If you look at what has happened in your life over the past several years, you'll feel and understand that without the whole of you, you and your CV or money in the account are worth nothing. They're like jewelry we wear to embellish, giving us feel-good experiences and multiple personalities that we also need to navigate the cycle of life. But without your heart and your feelings, you cannot feel successes in wholenesses. Without your heart and your emotions, you cannot feel your boundaries or set boundaries optimally. Without your heart and your feelings, you cannot feel when you should take care of yourself and your loved ones, when anxiety and control take over. Without your heart and your feelings, you cannot sense and choose your way, which is yours and no one else's. Without your heart and your feelings, you cannot sense how to understand others or explain others in order to be understood. Without your heart and your feelings, you cannot sense the danger because you are always in readiness for everything in life, and you cannot see the true danger. Without your heart and feelings, you cannot feel others and yourself to choose on and off to create relationships that are healthy. Without your heart and your feelings, you cannot feel the passion, which is your sustained power of action. Driving power from anger or frustration doesn't last, and in the end, it destroys everything. Without your heart and your feelings, you cannot feel the love unconditionally, nor the ability to give the love that gives you the greatest economic growth and freedom. Without your heart and your feelings, you cannot create a mindset or a thought form where you are free thinking, independent of systems, and where you can find standalone and whole solutions. Without your heart and your feelings, you cannot feel your ego, cultivate the positive, and deal with the negative. So choose wisely, choose by your heart and your brain. Choose independently with your whole self, and not from what you've learned from old norms. Don't go for old dreams. They have lived and no longer exist. It's time for new value-based dreams, which are not just about you and what you want, but what you can give to get. Give yourself the time. That is self-love. Be patient and do what is necessary to achieve your passions. It's not always that the way can be easy or passionate. Money always comes with a positive development of you when you think in wholenesses and your energy is released. It's for sure, and that kind of money breeds even more positive money growth. Money from negative growth is not sustainable, and it doesn't breed more money and growth. If you do not grow personally and earn money, then this money is probably not sustainable and part of positive growth. Growth where you are actually still a happy person, without stress and anxiety of where others decide the value of your efforts, but where you have valued yourself and own yourself with a healthy lifestyle. A lifestyle where you, with your heart and your emotions, can feel and make healthy and good decisions and earn money that doesn't cost you your psyche or you, but it is money that gives you energy, positive energy, because money is energy. Who is your favorite human being? Life has its own labyrinth through which we must learn to navigate. We stand by each other when everything is fun and cool, but also when everything seems impossible to get through. And in a special way, we always end up somewhere, namely in our place, our love. Honesty and recognition are our strength, and always being in process is our power. Being able to implement changes is our peace. These days, my people, who are always behind me 100%, read through my book and give their opinion on it before sending it for review. I'm grateful to be surrounded by such loving people who will spend the time and show their care and interest. There are a few chapters that have been in and out of the book several times, and that's why it hasn't been published yet. Not because they were hard to write, but because I was unsure of how exposed and vulnerable I wanted to come out. Rather, whether I was brave enough, mature enough to stand out completely exposed. But a chat with an old friend who contacted me all of a sudden gave me the courage to take it all in. Sometimes the strength we need comes from our weaknesses. It turned into these books as a kind of book of life, which contains a little of everything, just like myself. It's not just the authentic grey hairs, the beautiful wrinkles, or our eyes that tell and carry a story. Daring to rest in who we are, just as we are, and be proud of it and the history behind it, which makes us what we are. All that tells a special story. Don't let the history of the past stop your present being from being majestic and beautiful. Standing firm in who you are today is an art and a learning that I was also reminded of again and again while writing the books. You are not who you were yesterday or what you can be tomorrow, but who you choose to be today. People and circumstances based on love will never cause unrest for you, or unrest because of you. They'll embrace you as you are, and will keep their inner war with themselves to themselves. It is strength and a beautiful journey to be able to stand honestly and completely exposed, just the way you are, inside and out. A freedom no one else can give you. As my soon-to-be 22-year-old wise daughter says, it's not good to live in a time when many are trying to live up to the Botox culture and to be part of the perfect world that doesn't bring happiness anyway. They are the ones who judge the hardest because they judge themselves so harshly that they have to live up to a glossy image whose value is a quick fix. We come in and out of each other's lives, our ways cross and memories are created. Sometimes we have to choose off someone who doesn't contribute to anything positive for us, even though they are our people, who were once our closest and best. The ways part as we move in the depths, and our surroundings are still on the surfaces. When our inner values separate us, and we want the depths and thus not the superficial thought forms, then we must find the courage to detach ourselves. Otherwise, we shall be dragged back to square one. But do you know who your people are? Do you remember to cherish them and not let your negative ego forget where you come from, who you are, what they have done for you? Do you remember your humility towards their abilities if they are more skilled than you? Do you remember to detach yourself when your journey is over and they don't contribute to the joy and development of life? Or because you want to solve the labyrinth of life from two different ways? Do you dare to be the 100% natural you without all your survival strategies, but live life instead of surviving it? Can your people comprehend you even when you step forward as you, with all of you? Try to rest in who you are, for whom you were created to live with nature and natural law. The time has come for us all to let go of the constant facelifts that are required to live up to the click and collect culture and live up to superficial norms in which many forget and continue without their human emotional empathy and humanity to be something they are not. Find your people who value you as you are and have the same deep values as you. This time, you choose wisely. Everything in life is a choice. Everything is okay to choose. Everything is nothing. Choosing nothing is everything. Everything starts and ends from nothing. The core of every human being is everything and nothing. It depends on the choice we make if we transfer nothing to everything. To choose everything, we must start at nothing. This book was my thoughts, my perspectives, my updated knowledge, and briefly, my life story. I am far from the one who knows, but I am a curious person who has turned not only the most insane, but all the situations I've been through into diamonds. I've cracked the code of integration and balancing my two inner worlds within me. I have a balanced gender identity according to my beliefs. It's not just about our successful integration with the society we live in or how we fight the battle for gender diversity and equality. It's also about bringing our inner world into peace and happiness. The outer integration with the environment must also be integrated into our inner world for a sustained change in us as an individual person. This is where you optimize from version 0 to 1 to 2, etc. I am the one who was alone with my 2 children in my mid-30s who lost everything, even the smallest details, including my childhood memories from Persia, my identity documents from Persia, my money, my house, my pension. And here I made the turnaround of my life for the second time. And the product I am very grateful for and proud of. Instead of giving up during the most violent periods of my life, I chose to turn it all upside down. turn it into my own advantage, and turn all my failures into successes. First in my inner world and then in my outer world. During that time, I developed the capacity abilities of my intelligence at lightning speed. Believe me, I could do a lot and was intelligent before that, as we can all be or are. But there were other buns in the soup. Using our abilities optimally is a very unique experience. It is me who went from having lost everything to being in a life filled with love, care, opportunities, and to being the entrepreneur and the CEO and getting everything without me having to fight. I am also the one who chose everything off to go my way with the Ancient Academy, the way where I can develop and develop others, help others as they help me find better ways to think, evolve, and live life. What I have realized today, but which is certainly also variable and changes with time, is we are here to be developing happy people. Not just a scientific man, not just a spiritual man, not just a religious man, not just a feminine or masculine human being, but simply a happy person in development. We are not our stories, what the norms, society, our families, or our perimeters say we are. We are what we choose to be. And it's about choosing on to be able to choose off, to change the history that defines us, where we ourselves consciously define our history and create a new story that we can identify with and that is our self-chosen conscious story. I hope you've enjoyed reading the book and that it has given you food for thought. Thank you for your time because you read my book. Loveliest greetings, Nati.